Hello, it's Blue coming to you live from the Erasmus Bridge, and welcome to the Netherlands for the very first Altered TCG World Championship Qualifier. That's right, this is my recap of the recent Dutch qualifier that sends one lucky Altered player to Paris this autumn to vie for the World Championship. I will be doing a short review of the Swiss rounds and the event as a whole, some English commentary, over the top cut, which includes the top 8, as well as giving a bracket breakdown as we go. Before we get started, I do want to take the time to thank the DAC, also known as the Dutch Altered Community, for helping put this event together and provide coverage. Please be sure to also like and subscribe to support this channel if you haven't already. I really enjoy doing these videos for you all, and that support lets me know you enjoy watching them. And now, let's get into it. Alright, so this World Championship Qualifier event in the Netherlands had over 100 players, and not just locally, but from across Europe, who competed in a standard Swiss to top cut tournament, all of which were best of one games. Here is a look at what we had results wise for the Swiss portion of the event, with Cledeus from Altered Aces being the only undefeated player in the Swiss rounds, with the remaining top 8 of Caballo, Martin Pashur, Matt Yu, Yarne R, Heaven, Popeye, and Tito, needing at least 6 wins and 2 losses to advance through to the top cut. And here they all are with a nice group photo of the top 8 prior to us taking a look at the final rounds of the competition. And now the fun part with the quarterfinals matchups of the top cut bracket on full display. We have a hero breakdown of 4 Sigismar and Wingspans, 3 Afanis and Senka, and 1 Kojo and Buddha. For these first round matchups, we see a total of 3 mirror matchups, 2 of which are Sigismar's and the other Afanis, really showing that these heroes still maintain a strong presence in the meta despite being hit with nerfs prior to the release of the Whispers from the Maze set. And the final quarterfinal matchup is the one we will be taking a look at and commentating over, of Matt Yu on Afanis versus the lone Bravos hero in the top cut of Yarne R piloting the Kojo and Buddha. Excited to see how this non-mirror matchup goes in this quarterfinal. So without any delay, let's get into it. Okay, so getting straight into it here, we have the quarterfinal matchup between Matt Yu and Yarny. It'll be an Afanis versus a Kojo matchup, and we do see the nice little promotional Kojo out there, as well as the promotional Afanis. Oh, no, rather, it is not the promotional one in the sense of like we see on the Afanis. I thought I saw the different hair. So apologies there. We get a nice little start off here of a Haven Bravos Bastion from the Kojo player, as well as a resupply into a unique spy that I should be able to show you on the screen here if I don't know it myself. We did get a play of a Moth to a Flame for the Afanis player. And it looks like we'll just have a simple 1-for-1 setup where the Buddha just kind of supplements what they had as far as that Tiny Gen play. This is the quarterfinal, like I mentioned in general. I'll go ahead and try to commentate over a little bit here and there. Haven't really decided if I'm just going to make this a highlight section or just the full commentary. But in the meantime, I'll just commentate like things are going to happen. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then we'll move on to the future rounds as we move. But we'll start Afanis off, going to use that nice little sabotage coming from the Tooth Fairy in order to hit that unique Ortis Spy. And then we'll see another permanent pop out here from the Kojo player in the form of the Mess. And then Afanis will follow up with a Moth to a Flame once again. Leaving only 2 mana here for the Kojo player. Trying to decide the best way to handle this at the moment. A good amount of stats for either player, and it's going to go ahead and just throw out the Tiny Gen with the 2 boost due to the Haven, and block that Moth, and just get another 1-for-1. So fairly quick game that we have going on here thus far. We do have the Kojo back on a Buddha turn. The mess does gain a counter. The mess in general has been a nice card, I think, as far as the new cards from Whispers from the Maze for these Kojo decks. So we'll be able to see if that is able to get the single 1-0 there for the Kojo player. As they set up here for the next day, this will be a non-Buddha turn. Kojo in the lead at the moment, having a 1 expedition lead on the Tumult. Looking like they're in a fairly good spot, especially with the Faunus Knight able to gather up some resources from any type of draw, whether that be from a Conjuring Seal or even things like Scribbling Starfish, or things similar to that in the way of any type of draw. They also have Baba Yagas available to them if they so choose. Do see a Sabotage go ahead and hit the Mighty Djinn in the reserve, but we see an immediate Bravos Tracer, kind of putting a large amount of stats on the board from the resupply coming out from the mess. Good amount of mana here left for the Kojo player, though. I think they'd be definitely happy just with getting a 1-for-1 at this point. And we'll go ahead and wait to see what they decide to play with it. And it looks like they will go ahead and use a Fire Rabbit, which will give the Tracer another boost and put a little bit of stats on that companion side, it looks like, just to put a little bit of pressure. And it looks like we have a license withdrawal being played in the out of faction to knock out that Tracer. We'll get a counter on the mess, though. Another good removal that we've seen in both Ordis and Ysmir. We do see that arcane counter go on that Evanescence, and a Bravos Vanguard, a card we don't get to see a lot of in the rare version, actually, removing the fleeting from the Fire Rabbit, giving it the ability to be played from the reserve and utilize that Haven Bravos Bastion that got played in day 1. And coming up on a Buddha turn, this will be pretty big for the Kojo, who is now just 1 advance away from taking this game, being able to stop a singular advance for the Aphanis, who just had the Spindle Harvesters on that companion side and was blocked by that combo of the Fire Rabbit with the Bravos Vanguard. We do look like we were going to have a 1-tap for a Tiny Djinn from the Kojo player, but we did have a take back a little bit of a take backsies. And we'll see what they're actually going to play. They could go with a mess counter reduction here. Go ahead and do a resupply. Have another card from reserve. Take advantage of that Haven Bravos Bastion. But still waiting on decision. It's probably waiting on a mana decision here for the Aphanis player. Hard to tell exactly what is going on, but I believe that's it. Solemn play. He's like, hey, I still got a side. And it looks like we'll still just see that same Tiny Djinn play. We do see a reserve play here of the Tooth Fairy. Doesn't do anything from reserve, obviously, and it is the common, so it doesn't feel good to pay 2 costs for. We do see a 1 cost play of that Fire Rabbit getting a boost from the Haven. Haven't seen the mess come into play yet for this day to see if there's any resupply that they want to do. Having a little bit of a discussion here on where that boost came from. He's like, just look at the Haven. That's what it does. We do see a Beauty Sleep come out here. Looks like he's going to target the rabbit in this scenario. Give a boost to the Tooth Fairy. Plenty of mana left, though, here for the Kojo player, so should be able to see what they're going to play. And they throw down another Haven Bravos Bastion. That's going to resupply into another Bravos Vanguard. So rare scenario of seeing 2 Bravos Vanguards. Haven't seen a major play on that. Matt seeing the writing on the wall and is going to go ahead and give the GG. And we see a victory for the Kojo player and Yarny. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But that'll be it for the quarterfinals. As we move on to the semifinals, we will see at least 1 Kojo player and see who they take on next. An amazing quarterfinals victory there for the Kojo player in Yarne over Matt on the Aphanis. It just seemed like the Aphanis player never quite found what they were looking for before the Kojo player just ran away with the quarterfinals victory. Now, on to the semifinals, as we saw Cledeus win one of the Sigismar mirrors over Tito and will take on the Kojo player in Yarne. We also had Popeye take the win over Caballo in the second Sigismar mirror in order to face off against Heaven in the semifinal, who is also able to win their mirror match against Martin Pashur. Should be interesting to see how this one turns out, as both Popeye and Heaven are definitely premier players for their respective heroes of Sigismar and Afanis. However, we will be taking a look at the first semifinal of Clay Deuce on Sigismar and Wingspan versus Yarne R on Kojo and Buddha to see which token generating hero can make it to the finals of this first World Championship Qualifier. Okay, as we see the players start doing a little bit of shuffling of their own and their opponent's decks, we are into the semifinals of the Netherlands World Championship Qualifier for the Altered World Championship, showing up later this year in Paris, France. Don't know exactly where, don't know exactly when yet, but hopefully we should find out about that soon. We do get to see Yarn or Yarny with the Kojo once again on the top of the screen this time versus Claydus, also known as Clay of Altered Aces. Showing out with the Sigismar, as is usual. I'm sure we may get to run into a Kokoba or two. Clay did go undefeated through the Swiss setup, as we should have shown here at the beginning of this video. A complete 8-0, I believe. Everybody getting Kokoba left and right. But both players are drawing their first hands here as they decide what they'd like to do for mana. Should be an interesting matchup. I feel like Kojo has definitely gotten stronger in this meta, but it still may not be quite enough to catch up to the level of Sigismar. We'll have to see how this one turns out for these two as we get a little fist bump to start things off. Clay, with the Sigismar on the bottom, has the privilege of going first here with that nice World Championship Qualifier first player token being shown. I assume it is a qualifier one. It may be an actual World Championship one, and they just have those ready earlier. But we'll see how that goes. So no Buddha turn this time around. Clay taking time here to see what they want to do on the first move and get things going here. Start us off strong, I'm sure. Can't play a Kokoba right away, though. But it looks like we're still just verifying the mana. And both players are ready to go there as we get the heart from the Kojo player, just like we saw at the end of the last game here. Knowing that everybody's watching, we do start off strong here with a nice little rare Ortis Trooper coming out. A equal 1 cost coming out from the Kojo player this time around, not using the effect of the Fire Rabbit, as it really is of no effect with no other character out there. So Clay probably interested to see why that comes out first, opposed to not having another character to play off of. So potentially thinking that the Kojo player has nothing else, may just want to hold back and keep some resources. But you could always throw out another 2 cost if you have it to be able to lock things down here. As we see the intimidation come out here after that total play. So it does end up being, oh, they are doing the roll to decide the flip on both of these to avoid any conflicts with the marked cards. It ends up being a 1-for-1 here after the Fire Rabbit into the intimidation to verify anything on Clay's side of things. Looks like it potentially hit that token. No, it didn't, and it hit something else. I may have missed it. We'll verify on the screen later. In the meantime, we'll get into day 2. Both players' mana ing currently even on the board. We may be looking at another quick game for this semi-final round. We do have these 2 players knocking it up here. We do have a Mighty Jin being played from the Kojo. Not a bad spot to play it, especially since Clay seems to be on a forest and mountain terrain after that advance. I do appreciate the use of the acrylics in a sideways or flat fashion, because you cannot see them from above when they are on their little standees. So that is one thing that I'm noticing that they're doing here that is nice for this event at the very least. As we wait for the response here from Clay, looks like we may just be seeing a trooper coming out from the reserve. Definitely seems possible that we could just see a 1-for-1 in this scenario. No more cards left to play here for the Kojo player after that Mighty Jin play. And still plenty of cards and mana available after in order to Trooper play from Clay if they so choose to be able to just get a nice 1-for-1 here on the second day. But we'll see if that's how it ends up coming out as we wait on the decision. Has some other cards in hand that they can possibly mess with to decide on if they want to throw down that Trooper or not. We don't see the Trooper in the reserve anymore, so it makes me think that we're still going to be seeing it played, but we may just see something from hand instead. And it looks like we will see a unique come down here in the form of a foiled Ortis Cadets that hopefully we can pull up for everyone to take a look at. I assume it is some type of token generator, but not quite sure yet. It was the scenario here where they were using a standard mana convergence in a sleeved card and replacing the unique with that as soon as it is played. I assumed so there's no scenario of something being marked. I'd have to check on that, to be honest, but that seemed like the most likely scenario as far as what we have going on here. I do notice a similar unique foiled Sandman on the side there for Clay. That could be the reasoning for that. We do see nothing here from the Kojo player as they decide to play a trooper that produces a token, which definitely supports the theme of this cadets being a token generator of some sort. So we will likely see another 1-for-1 here for both players, as we're dead even on the Tumult. Both players have 2 cards in the reserve at this moment. The Koja does get a little bit of an advantage in the terms of getting some card draw, as we do see that cadets come up on the field. It is if you control a token, draw a card, so they're actually pretty even when it comes to card draw. And when another token character joins your expedition, if you control a token, create a Ortis Recruit in your companion expedition. So quite a good card. I believe Clay has shown that one to me before when I did a little bit of an interview with him. Had that replace one of his other pretty good uniques that I believe was on an Ortis Trooper at one point, but not quite sure. But card draw is becoming a premium in Sigmar decks these days, especially with Baba Yaga no longer being a stable rare for the hero. As we see another card draw happening here, coming from that Ortis Cadets, we will see a resupply coming from the Haven Bravos Bastion, pulling out an Intimidation to the reserve at this point. 3 mana left for the Kojo to potentially make a play here. They could definitely still play that Mighty Djinn to be able to block on the hero side and do a lot of damage, but still a lot of mana left here to play from Clay, and the fact that we see the Trooper comes out makes me think that he may have enough to be able to advance on his own here past that Mighty Djinn. But the Mighty Djinn does come out. It will get boosted from that Haven Bravos Bastion. Only 2 mana left, it looks like, for the Sigismar. We may be looking at some type of removal here to be able to target that Mighty Djinn, in which case we would be looking at a 2-0 here on this third day, I believe, for Clay, which would be a pretty good start here for the Sigismar player. Like I mentioned, does have 2 mana. Gonna go ahead and pass the turn over to Sigismar, and actually just gonna be an attorney. So enough to block on the mountain side of things, but not on anything else on the forest. So we will get a singular advance here for Kojo player on the hero side, where the Sigismar player will get that single advance on the companion side. Going into a Buddha turn for the Kojo player. Has 2 cards in reserve, and the Sigismar should have gotten a draw off of that attorney play for not being able to advance on the hero side. But we'll see if that's going to be enough for them to use that card advantage as a whole against the Kojo player to gain an advantage on the Tumult and possibly take this game. Both players are even at this point, only needing 3 advances. All right, we do see, like I mentioned at the end of that last day there, I'm just now realizing that the Buddha actually is one of the promo versions that's been foiled recently by the Kojo player. So cool to see those tokens finally being foiled. I know I've definitely done that myself here as far as my most recent print-on-demand orders. We are into, like I mentioned, the next day here of the semifinals, a Kojo versus Sigismar matchup. Yarn or Yarny versus Claydus, also known as Clay, to decide who is going to make it here to the finals of the Dutch Altered World Championship Qualifier. We do have a lot of folks coming over from Europe in different spots to come to this event, not just folks from the Netherlands here, and always a good time to see people travel to play some Altered as a whole. But we'll go ahead and start off here with a reserve play of that Fire Rabbit that will get a boost because of the Haven Bravos Bastion. And we will get an equivalent, not equivalent, but a good card in of itself in the Ortis Attorney being played from the reserve. And the Frog Prince coming out for Clay in response. We'll see how things turn out here. 4-tap coming out here from the Kojo player. It looks like it to be one of those Hua Mulans that do a lot of discarding if a card is 3 or less, and also able to remove fleeting from itself. So, not sure which one it is, but we might be able to pull that up here for everyone to take a look at. Looks like it's something to do with putting a card from hand to reserve to trigger the effect, and it looks like we'll put a Duel of Grit to reserve in order to target that attorney. We are in a situation here where the Frog Prince is doing a good amount of blocking due to the water. And yeah, here is the Hua Mulan that if you put a card from your hand in reserve, if you do discard a target character with hand cost 3 or less. And at dusk, if I have 1 or more boosts, I lose fleeting. So that is actually pretty good. I've only seen a few of those before, and it's definitely something to watch out for. I think the only other uniques that have some type of similar effect are the Garrix coming from the Trial by Frost set. Haven't seen a lot of Garrix being used, obviously, because they have been suspended, but might be interesting to see some of those being played at some point in the near future here. But in the meantime, we're doing a little bit of stat calculation here to decide, for Clay to decide what they want to do. I don't know if they have any more mana. It looks like they have at least 2 more mana to be able to be played. If I can see that at the bottom of the screen there. So they may have some type of response here, and they are going to throw out the Foundry Mechanic for 1 cost, and then they will also play a 1 cost Aegis Templar as a scout to be able to at least, it looks like, advance on the companion side using the Water Train. And we will see an equivalent advance coming out of the Kojo player potentially. No, they won't actually. So it's a double advance maybe. Yep, a double advance for Clay, single advance, 1-0. So they were tied on that hero side. So apologies there, couldn't exactly see what was going on. Oh no, it was a double advance. Because there's 3 advances away for the Kojo player and only 4 advances and only 2 advances here for Clay on the Sigismar. So it was a 2-0 advance in that scenario for the Sigismar player. And we'll have a little bit of reduction here of what's in the reserve. Going to go ahead and get rid of that common Aegis Templar. Another card that's been quite popular with the Ortis players in all factions, no matter, or not all factions, all heroes, no matter what you're using it for. A little bit of in a rough spot here for the Kojo player as they just came off a Kojo turn where they got 2-0'd. So just the stats and the wrong terrains, it seems like, for them to potentially make that option work here. And we will start off with a Ortis Spy that's going to go ahead and hit that unique Hua Mulan. Clay does not want to see that potentially be used against him. And we'll see another response of a rare Ortis Spy coming from the Kojo player here to sabotage that Frog Prince that would be in a pretty good spot to block some stats there on the hero side. It looks like we'll see a response of a little bit of a slow play from the Sigismar player with the Foundry Mechanic. Forgot to put down the fleeting token, so that'll be an automatic penalty point. I'm just kidding. Yeah. We know that Foundry Mechanic is, in fact, fleeting at this point. We do see a unique Ortis Spy come out here. If they don't show it up on screen, we'll go ahead and show it, but they do. This has a sabotage from anywhere, and then when I go to reserve from the expedition zone, you may pay one if you do sabotage. So quite a good sabotage engine there. Three different options to sabotage. You have to pay a little bit extra to get the third one, but it also leaves the possibility to keep on sabotaging if you can remove the fleeting. And solid stats for the 3 cost. We do get a nice little quick zoom on just the expeditions here at this point. So that way we can see the tumult a little bit better and potentially the stats on everything. Clay is just 1-2-0 away from taking this game, whereas the Kojo player in Yarn is a little bit behind. We will see a Jack Frost be able to exhaust the card in reserve for the Kojo player, limiting the resources, and does not look like he has anything to respond. And we will see the victory for Claydeus on the Sigismar, heading to the finals of the very first World Championship Qualifier for the Altered TCG here in the Netherlands. And we will see them go up against the other winner from the semifinals that we will go over here shortly. The Sigismar player in Claydeus takes that semifinal victory, as does his teammate, who is also piloting Sigismar, on the other end of the bracket, Popeye, who wins the storied matchup of Sigismar versus Aphanis against Heaven. So, with both of their victories, we will see an all Ortis final to decide who will win that coveted first World Championship qualifier spot. Will it be Clay with his infamous unique Kokoba, or Popeye on his no landmark focused Sigismar decklist? Let's get straight into the action. Okay, so we are into the finals of this World Championship qualifier, where the winner of this match itself, this best of one, will get an all expenses paid trip, at least to the event, as far as the World Championship, and it will be a Sigismar mirror matchup here to decide who will be the champion for this World Championship qualifier in the Netherlands. Once again, want to thank the Dutch Altered community for throwing this event, throwing up the stream, and for the folks over on Caleb's stream from doing a French restream of the event in and of itself. It's what makes this kind of thing possible as far as doing these recaps and honestly just being able to enjoy some good Altered. So we'll get some rolling done here after the players are doing a good amount of shuffling to decide who is going to be going first and second. It looks like we have a go first here for Claydeus on the bottom Sigismar. I'm just making sure that we don't have a quick rotation here. This may be a situation where Clay is on top, I believe, or he may be on the bottom. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember the individual's arms, to be honest. But it is, in fact, Popeye versus Clay. Popeye seems to be on the top, Clay on the bottom. Sigismar v Sigismar. They do have some slightly different decks as far as the deck lists available to them that we can show to everyone here. Should be able to pull that up and give a little quick on the screen difference of what we have going on if I have not done that already prior to this intro. And yeah, good job, Previous Blue, for doing that and editing that. But anyway, I believe we do have Clay on the bottom, Popeye on the top. Popeye, a player that I've always really liked watching, especially when it comes to online events and AWOL. I believe I had them even winning as my prediction for the most recent AWOL Season 2 Invitational. They weren't able to do it, but someone that I feel like is always on top of their game when it comes to Altered and always has a chance to win. And then we have Clay, another Altered Aces member. I should say that both of these players are on the Altered Aces. And the Altered Aces member, I should say, in the form of Claydeus, being the founding member. And another player who has done quite well and is known in infamy because of that special Kokoba unique that everyone dreads to see being played and is afraid anytime that he has the right amount of mana for it. But we will start off here with a Foundry Mechanic coming from Clay and a response of an Ortis Attorney from Popeye on the top Sigismar, and then we'll have an Ortis Attorney of his own in the form of with Clay. So they're going to be fine with that play there. And it looks like we will have a nice 1-for-1 with Popeye taking the companion side and Clay taking the hero side. Both looks like Clay is using the acrylics, where we have Popeye using the dice for their hero and companion tokens. And we get a nice little measurement there of a phone showing the 30-minute time limit that these players have. I don't think we should run into that issue here. We may, but Sigismund matchups, not known for being the most drawn out matchups, but it definitely could happen. This is the finals, a lot on the line to get that trip to Paris. I'm sure both of these players can make it to Paris regardless, but getting that automatic bid here on the first World Championship qualifier, I'm sure will mean a lot to whoever takes this victory. We do see the Orturny come out from reserve, and Clay gonna opt to go ahead and use cost reduction from the mechanic in order to get that Ortis Bastion in the form of a monolith in play. This, of course, will allow Popeye to get a 2-0 advance. But now we'll have to be dealing with that permanent that will constantly be a problem, potentially moving forward. A big thing to note, though, is that permanents seem to be a little bit more scarce in decks these days because of the additional permanent removal that we have provided to the more meta decks in the form of cards like License Withdrawal that seem to be more prevalent in both the Ortis decks as well as the Ysmir decks that have still been being quite strong, even with the suspensions that we've had previously. Looks like we have 3 cards there in Popeye's hand. I can kind of see a few of them. One looks to be a trooper, one looks to be a unique alchemist, I believe. But we'll go ahead and just start a from reserve play here from Clay. And we do see that license withdrawal that I mentioned before. Going to go ahead and take out that monolith. Doesn't want to have to deal with it in any shape or form. And always something you have to be aware of. That's why we've seen a lot of Sigismar players shy away from the permanent play. But we do see Field Reinforcements, a card that has been popping up in some Sigismar deck lists these days just to get a little bit of additional draw. In this scenario, Clay is even and or behind on both expeditions, so we'll get both effects of drawing and creating a token. And we will see another mechanic come out here, allowing for a double advance of his own as far as Clay. And had to use a lot of resources to do it, but needed to catch up there on the expeditions, especially after losing that monolith that they spent that second turn or that second day setting up and giving up a 2-0 for. So looks like we will go into the next day. I'm not sure if they passed the first player token already, but I don't believe they have yet. Yeah, there it goes. Popeye will be the first player here on the next day. A lot of back and forth here. I feel like that's kind of been the story here for these top cut matches, and we'll have to see if it falls the same way where we have just one of the players somewhere in this mid game be able to get a clean 2-0 or even just a 2-1 or a 1-0 to gain that advantage on the tumult and potentially take it all the way to a victory. Haven't seen a lot of come from behind victories, I don't feel like, if I am remembering correctly. But cool to see Clay out here for this event. I know he is living currently in Bangkok, I believe, but somewhere in Thailand. But either way, making a trip out here. I believe he stays in France while he does this just to check things out. And we will see how things turn out for him here. Potentially just one win away from getting that World Championship qualification spot. And the same for Popeye, who is a top-notch player in of himself, always on the top of the BJ ladder, as we see that alchemist that I thought we saw in hand come out to play. It looks like it is one that is providing 2 boosts, 2 apiece for each character. We might be able to get that up on the board here on the stream, or myself, that I can set that up for you. But in the meantime, we can see what the response is from Clay. Will be difficult to catch up a little bit here on that hero side. So may opt to try to win on the companion side, but then we'll have to deal with that sabotage from the Legat that Popeye played and losing some resources. And I believe he used a good amount of resources that previous turn just to get that double advance and catch up. And so I think his hand isn't looking all that great. It looks like he just picks up some cards, 3 cards in hand and now 2. So he will go ahead and try to contest that hero side to not have to deal with the Legat. Don't know the full stats that we have yet between the Alchemist and that token, but it seems to have at least 333 as far as the token's concerned, and we can assume that the Alchemist looks to have forest and mountain stats of some sort. If we haven't pulled up the unique already, we can verify that later, but still a good amount to have to deal with as far as Clay is concerned. And looking to potentially play one more card. We may have seen Popeye go ahead and pass here. I'm not sure how much that Alchemist had costed him, and maybe a 4 cost, to be honest. Either way, we'll see an Orders Trooper come out here for Clay, contest that hero side further. That should be a good amount of stats as far as at least blocking here. That'll be 2, 5, 7, 8 to block. I believe that should be enough. And it looks like we will have a 1-for-1 scenario here, I believe. Or is it just a 1-for-0 to block? It may in fact be that. So Clay not able to get an advancement of his own there, only be able to block in the water terrain with the use of that Frog Prince, the Foundry Mechanic, and the Ordis Trooper. So a bit of a risky play, especially with all of the resources needed to do that. Depending on if he decides to mana here or not, he'll only have 2 cards in hand if he does, 3 cards in hand currently. So looking a little bit sparse on those resources, like I mentioned. And Popeye is just 3 advances away from taking it. Clay taking a look at that Alchemist unique to see what he has to deal with here from reserve. I believe it's the one that is 4 cost from hand, 2 cost from reserve, if I remember correctly. Again, like I said, I should be able to put that up on the screen for everyone to take a look. Gameplay screen isn't the clearest to be able to read it directly from the board, which you can't really expect for this type of scenario, but they have been doing a really good job of pulling up uniques as they become available up here for us all to take a look at. So if we don't get to see it now, I'll be able to pull it up and we can all take a look at it later. So pivotal last day there for Popeye to be able to get that lead that I was mentioning before to potentially take this game. Those have been getting a lead have been able to kind of capitalize it, as we do see that Ortis Cadets that draws a card as well as a token producer on the companion side, I believe, once a non-token character is played, get played by Clay. And then we will see the response from Popeye here. It'll be interesting to see which side he decides to contest. He'll go ahead and it looks like using the support ability of that Alchemist, which seems to give a character fleeting. He's going to go ahead and give that Cadets fleeting. Does not want to give Clay the opportunity to gain any more resources by being able to draw. I believe this is the one that lets you draw if you have a token, and it only costs 2 from hand and 2 from reserve. And with it being a token generator, it's a pretty sweet one. But we will see 1 tap being played here, a simple Orders Trooper coming out from Popeye, trying to do a little bit of a slow play here to decide how they want to play this. They do have the lead on the Tumult, so realistically, all they have to do is keep on going 1-for-1 here, and they'll be able to take the game in its entirety. Clay looks like they're about to play that Frog Prince. We do, in fact, see the Frog Prince. Good spot to put it, with Popeye trying to advance on the side here of the hero side with just a water terrain. And with that play, we'll able to produce a token due to that Cadet's unique. Over on the companion side, like I had mentioned previously, few different options here. It looks like for Popeye, looks like they're going to tap 1, maybe 2. Hard to tell entirely, but yeah, it looks like it was a 2-tap. Able to separate that up a little bit. Clay asking for the same type of thing, so you can tell exactly how much mana his opponent has. Looks like we're potentially going to see a Legat play holding off here. Either way, it looks like we may be looking at a 2-cost play of some sort. Looks like we have a Rallying Call, an Ortis Crier, and I can't tell what that top card is. Is that a Sandman? It may be a Sandman. Either way, no other 2-cost cards in hand at the moment, so I think we're still going to be seeing the Legat play. We may instead see a Rallying Call play. Yeah, we will see the Legat play, maintaining the 2 costs. He just tapped 2 again accidentally, so yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's just making sure. And you definitely already tapped 2 there. Or exhausted 2, sorry. I'm not using the correct terminology. I apologize to all altered people with that one. Either way, we do have mana here. Exhausted, 3 total. I believe Clay still has 2 left at this point. Maybe more. They have used 4 mana already. So you may have 3 mana left here, or less, I'm not sure. But looks like it's only 2. Or maybe more if I can't see it off screen. Producing another Frog Prince that's going to be pretty good here, especially for blocking, and then also producing another token on the companion side, which will block that Legat. Popeye now remembering to put that fleeting token on, again, not getting a penalty. Man, these judges are really not being very strict. Just kidding. I think everyone forgets to put fleeting tokens down, but at the end of the day, you remember what you did. So we will see that Sandman that I mentioned before that I thought I saw in hand. It's going to go ahead and hit one of his own cards here on the hero side in the form of the token. Going to go ahead and give it 2 boosts. Sandman looks to be a pretty good card to help him advance, but not necessarily block as far as Clay's concerned. So if he has one more forest setup here, I believe Clay is on an individual forest terrain, but he may be tapped out at this point. Or does he have 1 mana left? If he has 1 mana left, that trooper would be enough for him to be able. Yeah, like I said, before we got rudely interrupted by ad that I may or probably should cut out here. Potentially could double advance with the play of a trooper here for Clay. I'm not sure if he has the mana to do it though. It doesn't look like he does, and we will get another 1-for-1 with Popeye maintaining the lead at this point. Only a double advance away from taking the victory here in the finals matchup for the World Championship Qualifier here in the Netherlands, the very first qualifier. We will get to see that slept token stay out there on the hero side for Popeye. Pretty good setup if he does want to try to go 2-0 for the following day. Clay not looking in the best situation while being down, but still not out of it here. We'll have to see if he can regroup here. Interestingly enough, we have not seen the famed Kokoba come out here in either his semifinal or this final matchup yet. So that may be the big factor here as far as maybe not currently winning the game. But obviously you have to be better than just one individual card. So could be a variety of things at this point. We'll have to see how Popeye starts this one off. Should get another token here at noon after he decides to mana. If he remembers to do it, because that previous token was slept. Doesn't look like he's currently remembering to do it. Hopefully someone gives him the reminder here before he plays his next card. But so focused at the moment here on his next play that he may not do it. It looks like we do have someone pointing out the token for that, and he will go ahead and put that token down to get things set up there at noon. We may be looking at the final play of the day for this finals matchup. As we do a quick double check here on the mana, gonna go ahead and exhaust 2, it looks like, before we get a play. Or they haven't exhausted any yet, just readying the mana. Looks like he has a total of 8 to work with. Potentially gonna start off with a 1. and is going to go ahead and rallying call. So a bit of a slow play coming out from Popeye. Doesn't want to commit any characters on one side quite yet. Clay could do something similar here. He does have some lower cost characters from reserve on the bottom Sigismar here to potentially try to counteract that, but is limited with the amount of cards he has in hand. It looks like he only has 2 at the moment. So we'll have to see how he's able to address that. It looks like Popeye only has 2 as well, though, so could be a bit of a back and forth if they so choose, but it kind of falls on Clay to have to make the move a little bit while being behind on the tumult and only being 2 advances away from being beaten here in the finals of the Netherlands World Championship Qualifier for the Altered World Championship. Both players verifying some items here, maybe time-wise. We can't quite see the phone anymore. I know originally it was on the board as far as time. Um, maybe verifying spots on the tumult. Either way, the play is on to Claydeus here on the bottom Sigismar. We'll get a quick zoom up view here of the expeditions. I do appreciate the view, but I think I do prefer just a little bit of the zoomed out view, even if it's not as quite as clear. Either way, we will see the Orders Trooper come out from reserve, it looks like. Yes, it's the one from reserve, as it has gained fleeting. Seems like they're pretty good about using the official tokens here, acrylic tokens overall. But we do see a lot of dice being used for boosts, which isn't a bad idea, especially with the amount of boosts that we see being used overall, especially in this new set. We do see that Orders Trooper coming from reserve for Popeye at this point. So equal Orders Troopers with Popeye taking the advantage over here on the hero side, having that leftover slept Orders Recruit, as well as another recruit that had a rallying call placed on it with that has an additional boost. Doing a quick zoom up here on the hero side, including the reserve. Back to the expedition zoom. And back to the full table. We just got to check the zoom features on all these cameras. All right. And the plate, I believe, is to Clay at this point. Still 3 cards in hand. Has that Frog Prince available. Wouldn't be a bad spot to block on the hero side, but it's going to opt to Jack Frost instead. Now the question is, does he want to hit the stats that we see in the Sandman or prevent the slow play coming from that rallying call? Rallying call, a pretty big card when it comes to the previous set in Trial by Frost, having to deal with a lot of things being slept, especially in the Faunus matchup. I have seen it being reduced a little bit. Oops. Reduced a little bit in Sigismar decklist here in the new set to 2 more than 3, assuming that they don't have to deal with things as much, but still not a bad card. Anytime you can just pay 1 to get a boost or remove sleep feels pretty good, especially since it can be played twice. We do end up getting that Sandman being hit and an Ortis Crier being played by Popeye. Kind of coming down to overall Clay being able to get out that early monolith, but still not getting to take advantage of it too much because Popeye was able to hit that easy license withdrawal and had it ready to go for the monolith, which is seems to be a pretty pertinent play, especially if you are in this mirror matchup and you know your opponent is playing a permanent that could largely affect the game, whether it be that monolith or the Grand Endeavor, which I'm pretty sure Clay plays as well at this point, even though he hadn't played that in previous deck lists. Again, waiting for Clay to make this next turn. We do get another zoom up here on the expeditions, so everyone can do a quick count. Ortis Crier does have 110 stats for everyone. So it looks like we're at a 232 there on the companion side. Clay is going to go ahead and play the field reinforcements, opting for a draw, it looks like. I don't see a recruit out, so I have to imagine it's a draw. Then we do see, oh, he did the token, rather. We do see a Legat come out here from hand from Popeye, and a boost from the Rallying Call, it looks like. Few different things happened at once here. It doesn't look like Clay has anything. Throws out his last card, being a license withdrawal, and it looks like we have a winner in Popeye, getting the double advance to end this game here and becoming the champion for the Netherlands World Championship Qualifier for the Altered TCG, getting a ticket to France, even though he probably lives in France, I'm pretty sure, but to Paris, France, to play in the World Championship here later this year in autumn. And congratulations to both players for making it this far. Clay for having the undefeated run in Swiss. Popeye from taking it back here and being able to get that top spot. And there we go. Our first Altered TCG World Championship Qualifier champion here in the Netherlands is Altered Aces Popeye, playing Sigismar and Wingspan. Congratulations to him as well as Clay for making it that far. I'm sure we can expect to see both of them in future qualifiers and eventually the World Championship Tournament. Once again, I would like to thank the Dutch Altered community for putting on this event. It was a great way to kick things off and makes me all that much more excited for the French qualifier coming up this weekend. I hope you all enjoyed this recap of the first Altered TCG World Championship Qualifier, and I'll see you in play on the next day.